parents, the kindergarten teachers, and of course David have come a long way, wavering between trust and distrust. We will not follow this process in detail because I would like to make a time jump and tell you what happened to David and his family on the threshold of school life. Advised by the team at kindergarten, David's parents provided the child's medical documents when applying and enrolling in school. The specialists from the school were aware of the previous conflict situation in the kindergarten and were prepared to be delicate in their contact with Miss Sam in order to be able to build a relationship of trust. David's mother also started the contact with the team at school in a positive mood and shared that she was happy that finally someone will be able to help David to show what he can do, in contrast to the incompetent teachers that were teaching the child in kindergarten. A plan for the support of the child at school was prepared. The specialists had several meetings with the mother to introduce her to this plan and the subsequent steps for supporting David at school. The lead specialist on the team was the special education teacher. Since the entering of David in school, Miss M and the special education teacher approached each other very openly and exchanged their personal phone numbers with the agreement that if there is a problem, they can reach each other anytime. In the middle of the second term of first grade, when David had been working with the specialist for more than half a year, the relationships between the team members and the parents changed significantly. Although he was progressing with the learning material, David was still having difficulties in finding his way in interaction with other children, especially when he was in class without the support of an adult who could invite him in the activities of peers. For Miss M, it seemed that all the options for supporting the child had come to an end. She was very disappointed with the special education teacher and the failure of all her efforts to find good enough specialists for her child. The intense contact between her and the special education teacher began to feel like a burden rather than a support for both of them. They continued to hear from each other several times a week, at different times during the day, most often in the evenings when Miss M could talk after work. Disagreements began to arise about situations in the classroom and about how to manage David's difficulties there. In the second part of David's story, although Miss M attributed the blame and responsibility for the lack of significant progress in the child's development to the teachers and their team members, it seemed that she was able to see her child with his difficulties beyond the ideal that the family members have built for him. This allowed her to seek support from the specialists at school. Despite the recognition for the difficulties of David at that point, Miss M, as most of the parents do, was making steps back and forth and didn't completely part with the dream of the genius development of the child. Describing David's teachers from the kindergarten as incompetent, she first saw in the special education teacher the savior of her child, noting that finally someone will be able to help David to show what he can do. She entered this relationship with high expectations and invited the special education teacher to enter the position of the child's all-powerful savior. This is a very attractive position that specialists are often invited to enter when parents are in crisis. It is a position of competence, power, expertise, which again sets a hierarchy in the relationship and can lead to a new vicious cycle in the relationship. And this is exactly what happened in the described story. In her desire to meet the mother's expectations and avoid conflict, the special education teacher slipped into this position of savior. She had taken a position of absolute confidence regarding the child's diagnosis, confirming to parents that she had the competence to work with children with ASD, and she failed to seek more information about what this diagnosis meant to the parents. She gave advice and information to the mother. She was available at any time when the mother wanted and needed to talk to her. In this situation, we can clearly recognize the Karpman's drama triangle that you can check in the written materials for this module. When we recognize that someone has entered one of the three positions in drama triangle, these are victim, persecutor, and savior. In this case, the position of the savior was occupied by the special education teacher. We can see then how the other two positions of victim and persecutor immediately appear. In the present story, these positions, as Karpman suggests in his theory, are dynamic and interchangeable. The mother moves from the position of a victim who hasn't found support and is looking for such in the face of the special education teacher, to the position of a persecutor who constantly invades the personal space of the specialists. The special education teachers went from savior to the position of a victim under the unfulfillable demands and dissatisfaction of the parents. These relationships have a hierarchical nature, in which expertise, responsibility, and guilt are periodically transferred from one participant to another. This vicious cycle can be broken when it is recognized and when there is a distribution of responsibilities and recognition of the expertise of each participant. Setting clear rules and boundaries is also an important component for ending this dysfunctional process. A step towards this could be setting a clear boundary about the time when the parent can contact the special education teacher, as well as when it is convenient for the teacher to contact the parent. On the other hand, this frame protects the personal space of the specialists and parents and prevents a situation in which they enter the positions of persecutor and victim. It also is a recognition that the other has her or his competence to deal with difficult moments, and even if they are beyond his or her capabilities, he or she is able to hold on until the moment when he or she can seek support and another opinion about the difficulty that emerged. In other words, this is an invitation to each of the participants in the interaction to take position as a competent participant. In this regard, some teams have regular meetings or phone calls with parents, which are organized every month or week if needed. In them, parents, teachers, and other specialists share their observation about the child's development, exchange experiences and ideas on how to move forward. In this way, everyone is empowered to actively participate and focus not only on the difficulties, but also on the child's progress, unlike an organization in which there is contact between parents and specialists only when a problem or crisis situation arises.